the Niners have gotten absolutely gashed in the run game the last few weeks. They have not been able to stop the run. They've missed tons of tackles. We saw it. They couldn't tackle against Cincinnati. They looked really fatigued. They went into the bye week. They came out more rested, and they were better for a while. But now here they are again, and they look kind of fatigued, and they've lost Hargrave and Armstead, at least short term. Greenlaw's playing. He's not even on the injured list, which is crazy because he's got to have about 7 different injuries. And he's dinged up. I mean, and they missed 16 tackles against the Cardinals. Now, Dermacado, if you know your college ball from TCU, he's a bull and he runs hard. James Conner's 230. He runs hard. The week before, they had Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, and they ran through all kinds of tackles. Do the Niners have a problem with stopping the run? And do the Niners have a problem with missed tackles? Or, as Greg Cosell put it, he doesn't really believe that the Niners have a problem with run D. He feels like when it's necessary, they'll have it, and that those numbers are inflated based on some long runs from scrimmage by those two backs. How big of a run D, how big of a problem is the 49er run D? And is it going to be a problem this week? I asked the beat writer from the Ravens, who's the back this week? Because there's no Keaton Mitchell. And I thought he was going to say Gus Edwards. And he said it was Justice Hill. He thinks Justice Hill is going to be the guy. I have a very hard time imagining Justice Hill running through the 49er defense on Monday night. How big of a problem is the run D?
Go ahead, Coach.
It's a big problem. I don't like it. I mean, I've got egg on my face about this team, especially how I called the season. I called the season at 9-8, and that's because I gave now that I've watched the entire year, I gave the league and the Niners, quite frankly, way too much credit for the caliber of football that's being played. And I was really worried about being able to stop the run and run the football. I mean, those are tenets that create bad teams. That's what I've always been attached to. Larry, you and I have talked about this. Like, if you can't stop the run and you can't run the ball, you're going to lose half your games in the NFL. But that's just not today's NFL anymore. And Greg Cosell is 100% right. You really can pick and choose when you want to be stout against the run and when you don't want to be stout against the run. And it's a shame, but Greg Cosell is class personified as far as scouting and watching film is concerned, and I tend to agree with them. I do see moments where they bow up, they sacrifice their bodies, they fight to the echo of the whistle, they use power angles, strong hands, they rally to the football and gang tackle. And then I see other times where they whiff. They dive at guys, they try to blow through the thigh board and expect guys to just fall onto the ground. I've seen plays where Fred Warner is just flat out gone for shoelaces and ate grass, where he didn't have to. He could have met him up top. I feel like these guys make business decisions. They're like almost, in a sense, I hate to say this, but in a sense, they're like glorified stuntmen on the low. Like they try to hit because of the rules, they try to hit certain areas of the body, and they go for broke. If they miss, they miss. That's just what it is. There's no ironclad technique that's going to make these boys be physical and blow through a defender and deliver a blow. And because of it, you've seen it. Eric Armstead is his body type and who he is on that defensive line, how much area he covers. He's a dog in the run game. Javon Hargraves, which we clearly had worries about stopping the run, he's almost better than whatever we got at the 3 tech outside of him being down. So even with our 2 starting D tackles in there, we have struggled in the run game. James Conner, he's had a day against us. He's done whatever he wanted. And that is something that I do have us beating the Ravens, but that is something that does worry me because the Ravens are a team that their identity is running the football. The Eagles, for what it's worth, man, the Eagles got out-coached. That coach sucks, honestly. He got out-coached. He abandoned the run against us. He got down, he panicked, And then he put the whole game on Jalen Hurts and that beautiful offensive line. What in the hell do you have that beautiful offensive line going backwards for? Why? You got those boys. You need to be going forward. And I'm going to just tell you, man, like, that's how I see our team. I just feel like the Ravens are a team that their identity is running the football. Even when they're up, they're going to run the football. When they're down, they're going to run the football. This is who they are. So I'm very eager to see how we perform against the team that's not going to let us off the hook in the trenches. They're going to play us from the very start of the game to the end, and they're going to be doing the same shit. A lot of times, our complementary football, part of it is it's good for us because we're feeding off of each other, right? Defense is getting short fields, getting guys off the field, getting offense on to push the ball down. There's games where the offenses barely flip the field on us 2 to 3 times in a half. That's incredibly hard to combat against, right? But when you face a team that's going to play you for all 4 quarters, and we get a lot of complementary football issues that hurt other teams. I don't think the Ravens are going to hurt themselves. I don't think they're going to get down and start passing the ball 45 times a game because they're down. No, they're going to stick to the script. That's why I want to see this game.
Yeah, I think it gets interesting, kind of going off of Coach's point there, is a lot of teams don't commit to running the ball against the 49ers. They get down, they panic, they stop running. Even teams like Minnesota, who ran the ball very well early, they beat the 49ers, but they kind of turn it into a passing game later on. What we've seen from the 49ers, and this trend has now happened twice, after about 5 games straight, they start missing tackles. They start looking tired. And maybe that age catches up to them. And we've now seen it twice. So, once is one thing, but now twice is a trend. And that's why I said the bye week is so crucial. And the bye week is something that I talked about before the season starting, how crucial it was going to be for this team because it was an older team. Then you heard Kyle Shanahan and Debo talk about it. And now you're seeing it actually play out twice throughout the season. They do need that rest. Now, the 49ers, luckily for them and luckily for the Ravens, really, that's what makes this interesting. You got 2 teams that are fighting for the number 1 seed, and neither of them technically need this win. It's not a do or die game for either of them, the way that we thought it might be. If the Ravens lose to the 49ers, but they beat Miami, they're straight. They still got the number 1 seed. If the 49ers lose this game and then win the next 2, they're straight. So that also means we don't know who's going to play for the 49ers. Does Armstead take an extra week because it's not all hands on deck? Does Hargrave take an extra week because it's not all hands on deck? I think that plays into this. I also think that the injury going the other way to Keaton Mitchell is a big deal. When he came onto that team a few weeks ago, it was a whole different ball game for the Baltimore Ravens. They had an explosive running game that they had been missing since Dobbins went down. And really, frankly, since Dobbins was really good a year or 2 ago. So that was something that was dynamic, that was brought to them out of nowhere, and now they've lost it again. So I think that fares favorably for the 49ers. But overall, I do think that the 49ers could struggle this week against a team that's committed to the run. And if they decide to go Gus Edwards and do this power back thing with Ricard, who's a 310-pound fullback, and Lamar Jackson can be your quick guy along with Zay Flowers on some end arounds, it can get really interesting. So I don't know that I'm concerned long term, just because I think this team's going to be well rested when they need it most. But for this week, yeah, when a team's committed to running the ball the way Baltimore is, and the 49ers have missed tackles the way that they have, I don't know how you can't think that that's going to be an issue on paper.
I just don't see a runner there that, like, I'm not a believer in Justin Hill, or Justice Hill. I think he's just a guy. Now, Keaton Mitchell scared the hell out of me because he's fast, he's small, he's elusive, he can run through tackles. I think the Niners are going to win the rushing attack in this game, and that's why I like the 49ers to win this game.